Good morning. Welcome to Lunchtime Topics. I'm Kate Lance, Director of Programming and Communications here at the Creative Coast. We are a 501c3 nonprofit in Savannah, Georgia, and we exist to catalyze the innovation economy here in the coastal Georgia region. And we do that through social and educational programming. Lunchtime Topics is one of those educational programs. So if this is your first time watching, tuning in live or watching the replay, we bring on a guest who shares their industry wisdom with the region's startup and innovative community. And today we are trying something a little different. Rather than having our guests share a presentation, we are interviewing them to get the story and details on what it took for them to launch their endeavor. And our guest for this week's Lunchtime Topic is a friend of mine. I've known her for a few years now. Caitlin Davidson is the owner and founder of Fit to Entertain. It's a company through which she is a private chef and clean living advocate. She is an A1 digital marketer, and that's how I learned of her on Instagram a few years ago. And she puts out content that really speaks to her audience. Her passions are evident in her brand, and two of the things that she focuses on in her marketing to go along with her business, Fit to Entertain, are lifestyle entertainment and nourishment. So for 15 years, she worked in the event industry. So she really focuses on creating incredible experiences for her clients, whether she's planning and creating private dining experiences and cooking classes, or she's at multi-day retreats or building these beautiful, she builds these beautiful cheese, charcuterie, and handmade our hors d'oeuvres. So she did that for a Creative Coast holiday party a couple years ago. If any of you were there, you probably remember the spread at Expansive. So today we are going to get to know a little bit more about Caitlin and talk to her about her journey to entrepreneurship. But we're also, what the topic is how she turned the service-based business she had into a digital product to really create a passive income stream. So we're going to delve into this newest endeavor she has, which she launched. I think you launched it in September, Caitlin? It's Fit to Eat.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She launched Fit to Eat in September. I couldn't remember the exact month, but Fit to Eat is basically a subscription-based product that Caitlin launched in September of this year. So I'm not going to go into detail on all of that yet, because I really want to talk in depth with Caitlin about that, including everything from how she got the idea to what it took to launch and the tools she uses, and even discuss affiliate marketing a little bit. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. And thank you, Caitlin, for joining us today to talk about this. We're excited to have you.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I did give a little brief overview on Fit to Entertain, but can you talk a little bit more in depth about what you do and go into detail on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Fit to Entertain, I guess to rewind a little bit, Fit to Entertain started October of, 2019, so 5 months before COVID hit. So what I intended my business to be, it took a little bit of time. It's now actually just developing into what my dream was from the get-go. Obviously, we all had to learn to pivot. So what I do, I am a private chef and clean living advocate, as you mentioned. But to dig a little bit more, I am constantly in the process of, moving in the direction that I fully intended Fit to Entertain to be. But it is private dining experiences. I like to marry my two loves of cooking and entertaining, or hostessing. As you mentioned, I have 15 years in the event planning industry. So merging my two loves was really what created this business. So it's going a step beyond what a lot of people call catering, and it's curating custom experiences for people that goes for everything from the tablescape through the final pieces of an evening. But an offshoot of that is for the people that don't bring me into their home or into their rental home for those multi-day retreats. I have a passion for teaching. And one thing that I found once Fit to Entertain was launched was, and this will go into more of our discussion today, is the desperate need to reach people outside of my current market. I was constantly having conversations where they were like, if only I lived in Savannah. Why do you live in Savannah? Can you move? Like all of these things. And I was like, well, no. But I found a really big need for what I do, especially because something that sets me apart, I have celiac disease and I have an allergy to almost all dairy. So especially with the growing whether it's preference or by diagnosis, I cater to a completely different group of people, and I put a healthy twist on everything. So I grew up in a home. My mom cooked basically every meal. She's a fabulous cook. And I grew up eating healthy overall, but just realizing, I mean, considering the time we're in now, the importance of nourishment. And that is why that is one pillar of my business is nourishment. It's teaching people, whether that is me physically being at these private experiences, which can go as far as wine education and more education on what is in the food that I'm serving people, or whether it's in a cooking class format where I'm pouring my passion for nourishing our bodies through healthy and delicious food and teaching people that healthy is attainable. It's not unaffordable. And I have a true passion for getting people back into the kitchen and really enjoying themselves and finding a joy of being in the kitchen, which I know a lot of people say they don't have, but I think it's in all of us. So that's a little bit more background.
Yeah. And that's one reason I follow you. I'm passionate about being in the kitchen, and it's just finding the time to do it, but you do make it simple with the recipes you send out, which we're going to get to. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
before we delve further into Fit to Entertain and your digital product, can you share a little bit about your background? Because you were in digital marketing before you launched it. So you had some experience in the digital realm and understanding what audiences want, right?
Yes. So, I mean, going back to when I started, I mean, I've been cooking since I was 8 years old. I learned from my mom, but just over time, as you mentioned, yes, being in the digital marketing world, out of college, I was in sports marketing for 5 years. Then I moved to more corporate hospitality marketing for, I guess that was about 3 years. But during that time, it wasn't just about the event coordination that I was doing. It was really, I mean, the market, they kind of curated a custom job for me to where they were marrying my expertise in the event planning world with marketing, which was a little different than the traditional marketing experience. So I had that twist of like knowing people in a different way, rather than just the way that I've approached an ideal client is a little bit different. Like I don't go data driven. It's more like part of my business, I love relationships. I love getting to know people. And that is how my business has been built, is getting to know my clients, getting to know people that have followed me, connecting with people. I mean, you say that that's how you found me on social media, and that's how we connected. But we have similarities in various aspects of our lives that line up. So I really honed in on relationships more so like than the traditional form of marketing. And I think like I am a firm believer in that is what has built my business, because my business has been built completely 100% word of mouth and social media. I've never spent a dime on marketing.
Yeah.
Which I think is a big piece of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in this similar situation. So I'm the director of programming and communications, both. So doing both the marketing and the events. And I can attest to that. Like there's something about being close to the people that follow you, like both physically at an event and getting to know them, really what their likes and dislikes are. So you can really cater your content or cater your message to what they really want. And I think sometimes people think I'm just going to slap up some nice photos on the internet and I'll get traction. But there's a little bit more to that. Like even with some of these, you know, I'm a huge follower of fitness programs too. And one thing that I've noticed is a lot of these fitness influencers are doing is they're having retreats and they're having events because they want to get closer to their audience and understand it a little bit better so they can grow better. So I think that's a key point of what you're saying there. Can we talk, you talked a little bit about we talked a little bit about your passion for cooking or when it got started, but can you elaborate on when you decided like, I want to make the switch and focus on this passion providing nourishment with healthy foods for my audience?
Sure. So again, I started cooking when I was 8. I'll give this fun little story. So my parents, I'm sure any of you women listening know what an American Girl doll is. If you didn't have one, you know what it is. Clearly I did not go into the hairstyling industry. And I was playing with the hair on my doll too much to where I completely ruined it. And my parents wanted to teach me some responsibility. So they said, well, okay, you can get a new head, but you have to earn the money. Caitlin's Cookies was born. So I started a cookie business to earn the money to buy the new head for the doll. Come to find out, I found that I loved cooking. My little cookie business continued beyond once I had earned the money, but like just as time passed, right after I graduated from college and started my first job in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was single, living on my own, and I was bored out of my mind cooking for myself. So I started inviting friends over. And when I invited friends over, I would make the table look pretty. I would have flowers and I would make them taste all of my food because I was bored of cooking for myself. So it just became like these. And then I started doing dinner parties and brunches, and I would just host these things because it was something that I loved to do. Well, fast forward, I moved to Savannah for my now husband. So when I left my job in Charlotte, started down here, there was always, ever since I was uprooted from the job that I loved in Charlotte, there was that little, and if anyone's an entrepreneur listening, you know the feeling. There's like this burning, like a little fire that starts inside of you that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So it was, I was working remote for a very large corporate position, and that fire just kind of took over and was just like, you're not where you're supposed to be. You have so much more to offer. I was not happy. The biggest struggle was just taking the plunge. You leave benefits, a paycheck, all those things. So those were the things that just kind of held me back. But I was just like, someone told me, they're like, it's time for you to spread your wings and fly. So it was just when it got so it was an overwhelming sense of like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You need to just spread your wings and fly. So that was just at the most wonderful time of 5 months before a worldwide pandemic hit. But I trusted my gut and trusted the people around me. And it was just when, I guess I should mention, I was doing some events on the side while I was still working full time, and like would take vacation if I had to. And it became, my business started to grow. It became that decision of, do you follow your passion or do you stay where you are? Because I could not handle both. That's probably what I should have emphasized a little bit more. I was physically incapable of handling both at that point. So I took the road of entrepreneurship and never looked back.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize that a little bit too, because you didn't just take a leap on a whim. When I met you, you were still in that job. And I remember you were you made it look easy, but you were putting in a lot of work. Like you were up super early in the mornings, planning, getting stuff done before you had to go to your other job, and you were traveling for that job. And the amount of work you put in, I was like, I don't know if I could do that. Because I think you were, you're kind of doing events for your other job, as I understand, and then also putting on these events for other people and showing up for your client base. So but also to point out too, as entrepreneurs, before you took that leap, you had some security. You were able to test your idea. And this is a big thing about the Creative Coast. You knew you had a viable market before you took the leap.
Yes.
And that's something that we really harp on here through our programming, is like, you need to test your business idea. And one way to do that is to try to get customers in the process and see how many people are interested. So you knew you had an interest before you took that leap, and you did it in a very smart way. So a lot of work, but very smart.
But the thing that I always knew the whole time was that grinding mode. I mean, believe me, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes people don't see. I think people assume now that I sit around 6 hours a day twirling my thumbs. It's not true at all. I work from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. But that point that I took myself to exhaustion if anyone is like, if you are teetering between that whole thing, push through it, because that time is only temporary. But I will tell you, the time that I was doubling up and testing my market and testing my business while still working a full-time job would not have changed that for anything, because it gave me the security and the confidence that I would not have had cold turkey quitting a job without ever even like testing my market or anything like that. So it was hard, but if I were to do it over again, I would have done it again. Basically working myself almost to the brink of like quitting. So
yeah, but it worked. It worked out for you.
It did.
So,
yeah.
So, let's go ahead and delve into Fit to Eat. So what was the inspiration behind Fit to Eat? And can you explain to listeners, I've talked about it a little, but I wanted to save it for you. Can you explain to listeners what Fit to Eat is and explain your inspiration behind it?
Yeah. So Fit to Eat, just to give an overview of what it is a digital subscription program. Basically, think HelloFresh, all these things. I'm giving you the recipes and all the tools you need, except for actually the food itself. So you still have to cook it, but the groceries don't deliver to your door. That's really the only difference. And there is more flexibility and versatility than what those provide. So basically what it is every Friday, 3 new recipes drop in your inbox. Along with those 3 recipes, you're getting a comprehensive grocery list of all of them, of those, what you need for those 3 recipes, and then exclusive access to YouTube videos, tips and tricks, kitchen hacks, things like that from me. But I do want to go ahead and mention before we dive into this too much, that in 2022, so January 1st, it's getting a facelift. So Fit to Eat 2.0 is already coming, because as you learn when you test the market, because and I don't want to jump forward into any of your questions, but I did test the market without actually launching the product itself. It was more so people close to me. I just learned some tweaks that are going to happen. So I guess I can go ahead and mention now, I don't mind mentioning here, Fit to Eat will transition in 2022. And basically what it will be a quarterly program. So basically the first of, so January 1st, so each quarter, the beginning of each quarter, you're going to get, rather than the 3 recipes a week, you're going to get 36 recipes at once. So it's going to be it's going to be 3 month increments. But so the difference there is, one of the things I found out, and we can dive into this a bit, is some people plan more than others. Some people love getting the 3 recipes and being told what they're going to eat next week. Some people like, that doesn't work with my plans. So I had to divert, I had to rethink, and I had to figure out how I serve both of those people. The planners, the people that work on impulse, the people with time, the people without time. So what I decided is it's going to drop quarterly. It's going to be basically like a cookbook every quarter. You're going to get 36 recipes. There will be lots of video content, behind the scenes stuff, exclusive. You have exclusive access to me if you are a Fit to Eat member. But also you're not going to lose the weekly emails that will drop into your inbox, where I will select 3 of the 36, give you the grocery list. So if you want to be told what to do, I'm still serving those people. But if people want to plan ahead, they can have all 36. There are people that buy stuff in bulk, things like that. So I wanted to cater to both. But I think it's going to also provide, one of the biggest things is an archive. Everyone's like, okay, well, I don't want to sift through emails and find where this. So there's going to be a password protected portal where everyone can access all of those recipes digitally. So it's basically bringing a private chef into your home. So basically bringing me into your home without me physically being there. And it's just, what brought this on was, as I mentioned, the desire and the need that I found and received from questions. You should, the words every entrepreneur hates, you should do this. But, it happened enough that I wanted to reach people. I exist here to pour my passion and my love for healthy nourishment, all the things that that make up my brand. And I was like, I'm just reaching this small little pot of people in Savannah. I can't physically, these two hands can't be everywhere. This body cannot be everywhere. And I wanted to find ways of meeting you in your kitchen, meet you where you are, meet you in the 30 minutes you have to make food, or the 45 minutes you have, or the Saturday morning you want to bake brunch. Like, I want to be able to meet you in your kitchen, and wanted to personalize that beyond all of these services that just dump. And that works for some people, but I wanted to personalize it. Again, it's about relationships. I want to show up in your inbox. I want to show up in exclusive video content. I am accessible for questions. So that is where Fit to Eat came from. And I'm sure it will continue to change a little bit. It's very new. What are we on, month 3? So I'm already transitioning to some new things in 2022, but I think it will cater to a lot of people a little bit more than what we're doing now. I mean, it's working very well. I'm very pleased with how it's doing, but there's always room for improvement. But I just feel that there's a need for that. Because it's not just, I could go on and on about this and I will not, but it's meeting people where they are. But also I think there is a lack of connection with services in my industry, connection with people. So you're going to see my face, you're going to hear my voice, and that's where the teaching that I love, like with the cook, is bringing excitement back to not just cooking, but learning to cook healthy and learn to nourish your body. I can't tell you how many times people have messaged me and they've been like, I did not tell my husband or my kids what's in this, but they loved it. They had no idea that it was free of XXX and X. So that is what I meant to do. That is why I exist here. And that is that is how I want to pour into people. So.
And again, that goes back to, I think a lot of times when I've talked to a few entrepreneurs who are like, I just want to grow my business. And like, I'm tired of making the sales calls and doing those types of things. But really, it's important to I've seen some established, long existing companies that have grown bootstrap, basically, where they say we, as the CEO and founder, we go back and spend time in the sales trenches, because where you learn most information is having that relationship with a customer and understanding where your customers are at. And I do think you do a really good job of establishing that, not only just through your videos, but in general, you're receptive to people's messages. You sat down with me before, and this is going to lead to my next question, because it's related to customer discovery and getting to know your clients. So you sat down with your clients to determine kind of pricing, right? So that was part of your customer discovery. Like, what are you willing to pay basically for this? Is that correct? You did it with me.
Yes. Yeah. You're talking about what my conversation was with
before
my
you
ideal client.
To eat, because you have to determine, I'm sure you did research, right? I'm just trying to get to the point of how did you determine what are people going to buy this at? Was it just testing it, getting the product out there at a price? What kind of research did you do, or did you talk to customers?
So I reached out to a lot of my loyal clients, local loyal clients, and I asked them, if there was this thing, what would you pay? One of the biggest questions, one of the biggest things to me that I had to ask was how many recipes how many should I do? How many is too many? I started at 5. And then I'm like, okay, I need to step back. I have to do this based on my ideal client. I cook 7 days a week. The normal person does not. So I have to meet those people where they are. And they were like, okay, so 3, just ask me a lot of questions. It was mostly, I asked my business coach. But the biggest feedback came from my loyal local clients. And the biggest question for entrepreneurs that I am experiencing day in and day out with every single product that I have, whether it's an in-person thing, whether it's an e-cookbook, or whether it's Fit to Eat, is do you want to reach more people, Or do you like, that was another piece of it, was like, do I have to make it affordable to, you know, basically back myself up from what I'm offering enough to, but the other piece is do I want to reach more volume? Because, you know, you can't overprice. I feel like a lot of things can often be overpriced, because I do understand it's time is money. But if you want to reach people, I'm still in the infant phases of my job, like of my business. I'm still considered a child. Fit to Entertain is a baby. And I'm still very much so in the growth phase of still learning my ideal client, still growing a following, whether that's a physical following here or a social media following. But I'm not like at a place that I can just start slapping on, you know, numbers to things. So I'm still like I've said, you know, the e-cookbook I just did, same with Fit to Eat. I want to make it affordable so that people can use it and love it and share it. But I also, when it came to this, is like, it's a service, but there's still work that has to be done on your end. So what will people be willing to pay when you still have to go buy the groceries? So there are a lot of factors that came into it, but I really, really wanted to focus on meeting people where they are, and make it attainable and affordable for everyone, so that I could reach more people. Because I was like, I don't want a price tag to keep you from learning from me. That was a big piece of it.
And that again reaches a different market, because, you know, someone who's not able to set up a private dining experience with you,
Right.
but really loves your food and has tasted it before, is, you know, or, you know, that's a new customer. It reaches like a whole different market, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Which alludes, I have some things coming that I have more stuff along those lines as well, for the people that may not want to or be able to hire me physically. So
yeah, but I think that's smart though. You've got, and I want to point that out, you've got multiple revenue streams within your business, within Fit to Entertain too. So, you know, it goes beyond, we're going to get to that. I always want to jump ahead, but,
yeah, no, I'm trying not to say too much. Sorry.
You're fine. You're doing great. Okay. So you talked about a little bit about time being money. Obviously, and I think sometimes people think, oh, there's ways to do it efficiently. I'm just going to set up this passive income stream and it's just going to roll in overnight. But this was work. So I'm curious, how long did it take you to develop the full product? And, you know, how far are you working in advance? Do you have the whole thing established and automated right now? Or what does that look like exactly?
So, oh gosh, I'm trying to think exactly how long it took. So I have been thinking about a meal prep service for a while. But actually to develop it, I mean, a couple of months, just probably 3 months. I mean, I'm trying to remember when we sat down. That was kind of the beginning of when I got serious about it. So it was a few months that, I will tell you, I'm pretty tech savvy, if I'm being honest, like not to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm pretty tech savvy. So like the tech piece of it, which like my husband hates tech and compute, like he's not great with it. So like it would take him 3 times as long. So the fact that I am pretty tech savvy, I was able to figure out all the little add-ons and things that I had to do to make it function correctly. Automation is huge. I would love to tell you that I have this automated for a year out, but I don't. That is just complete honesty. And part of that is because I am revamping things in 2022. So right now I am working on, it will be 3 months at a time that will be batched, which takes a lot of work. But I mean, I do wish it was a little bit more automated. That's a goal of mine in 2022. Actually, I was just talking to my business coach about this. Was 2022 is the year of automation and just being more efficient with all of that. But it probably, I would say from start to finish of like talking, you know, really honing in on my ideal client, asking questions, testing the market, all those things was probably about 3 months.
Okay. And did you have a team helping you? I know you mentioned the YouTube videos and filming, and you're talking about how you're really tech savvy. So how have you hired people to help you, or has this been something, that you've been able to do solo pretty much?
Well, I'm a little stubborn when it comes to that kind of stuff, to be honest. I'm very, very particular about who I want involved in helping and stuff like that, just because I feel like, I guess, to go backwards a little bit, something I'm very passionate about is when you hire me, you get me. You're not getting a team member. You're not talking to someone else. When you email me, you're talking to me. There's authenticity. Like, you're fit to entertain is Caitlin. Caitlin is fit to entertain. So I have someone that comes in twice a month, and we shoot videos, take photos, get things for like imagery. We do some videoing for reels and stuff like that. And she doesn't edit everything yet, but she does do like my reels and does some video editing. I cannot stand making reels. They take me 5 times as long as they should. I'm good with tech, but those just grind my gears. So she does all of that for me. But other than that, it's me. It's just nice. I will tell you, but I also think that I want to always be authentic. So being authentic is not looking like I'm always cooking set up for a photo shoot. It's cooking in my gym clothes, which happens on a normal basis. So I try and mix up real with like staged a little bit. But I mean, let's be honest, when it's food, if it doesn't look pretty, it doesn't sell. So I had to bring someone in that could help with some plating, staging, and I can't take photos of myself while I'm trying to be in things for marketing purposes. So she really, really helps with that. That was a very, very helpful piece. It took a lot for me. This is my baby. Fit to Entertain is something that I've built from the ground up, and it's very, very special and important to me. So I'm very particular about when I look to expand, as far as like a team goes. But she has been wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, I if you go look at Caitlin's content on Instagram and Facebook, but I always think Instagram because it's so much more, it's more visual for, when you look at the grid. But if you just go look at her grid, all of the content, you've got that, it's just all of the same, I wouldn't want to say colors, but it's all very similar. And you've done a good job of curating content in your marketing that makes your food look good and represents your brand and has a consistent voice throughout, which I think is really hard to establish unless you have some help with photography and, like you're talking about getting the right images for your brand. So, yeah, you do an awesome job with that. And again, that's what attracted me to your account back, I guess it was like 2019, 2018, somewhere. Well, we met.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But, so, can you talk a little bit about, you said not everything is automated, but you do have the subscription, through your site, right? And can you talk about the tools you're using that you've used to develop the project so people can go in and subscribe? Is it MailChimp based, or what do you recommend there for people that whether they're setting up an online course with videos, or you've done this in a way that is affordable too, right? Like anybody can go start this and and not pay a ton of money. You're very good at that.
Well, and that was, you have to be careful when you're running your own business. You've got to be careful with the amount that you spend, because I will tell you, they pile up. All these subscriptions to all these things that you have to have in order to operate, they add up. So I really made it a priority to find what was affordable. So I personally use Shopify. It's very simple to use. I use Shopify. I knew that I wanted like the ability to put like e-cookbooks, and I have some dreams of things down the road to actually have like products that live there. And that, to me, it's aesthetically, it goes with my brand, because some of these sites are not like aesthetically my vibe, I guess you want to call. So I'm very type A. I'm a very type A person, so everything has to like be consistent. So Shopify and their abilities were super easy. I have something called Zapier that's an add-on to Shopify, and that is where the automation comes in. That's where, Kate, if you're going to go and you're going to subscribe to Fit to Eat, as soon as your payment processes, it triggers, it zaps my Flow Desk. I use Flow Desk for email marketing, but it zaps my Flow Desk and automatically adds you to under my audience, all of my subscribers to my newsletter. There are different segments, and one of them is, newsletter, which is basically everyone. One of them is private events. One of them is Fit to Eat. So it automatically drops you in the Fit to Eat, and you start receiving the emails. So within within Flowdesk, I also use workflows. So all of those are automated. So you get a welcome email when you buy it, whether you buy it September 1st or August 30th of next year. You're going to get that first welcome email. So Zapier and Shopify have been wonderful. And then Flowdesk is what I use for email marketing, which is drag and drop, so easy to use. And the aesthetics of it, the look and feel of it goes very much so on brand with my business as well. And then there was one, Payroll. I did a lot of research on, that's the subscription plugin or add-on. So that's what does the automated recurring payments. Shopify doesn't do that on its own. So Payroll is the last one that I use. I looked at, my husband has launched some programs that they're not subscription based. So it's like, basically he's in the fitness industry. It's a program, it's a set program that doesn't change. So a lot of you may have seen it's, it's kind of like the training style. I first looked at that, but I didn't like the fact that certain things lived in one place, especially because, Kate, if you subscribe in September, but Maria subscribes in January, it wouldn't work unless everyone bought it on the same day. So I had to do a bunch of research on the back end of that. But, and then simply the Fit to Eat it's email driven. And like I said, there's going to be a password protected portal starting in 2022. But that's not going to be anything like uber exorbitant. A lot of these things, I did a lot of research, just be very careful because the price adds up, and some of these things, they will charge you an arm and a leg. Like I couldn't validate what they would charge in order to use their service.
Gotcha. Well, that's helpful. What I want to get, I'm having trouble pulling up my chat right now, but I'd love to get the links, and I'll check them with you, and I'll send them to everybody if y'all are interested in learning more about these, because that's a key piece too. I think that's the piece that confuses a lot of people and keeps people from starting their digital product. There's a lot of other, if you're doing a course, an online course or something, there's a lot of sites like Teachable and Kajabi's another one that are great. But I think that, when you're doing something as complex as what, it's got to be different, right? Like, and you need specific things. So I'll send all these out to everybody who's on the call, so everyone gets a sense and can play around with these things. And thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about affiliate marketing a bit, because I think in this world that we're in now, with so many influencers out there and people who've been able to leave their jobs and go make money from, social media partnerships. But you have relationships, and one thing I love about your emails too, is that, you give the recipe, you give the grocery list, and then you give suggestions for the products that you use, the specific companies and products that you use, and you have codes to go along with those. So I know you've been working over the years to establish these relationships. So can you talk about how you got those partnerships over time and built those relationships?
Sure. I know it's different in every industry. So, my sister is a personal stylist. So from a fashion blogger perspective, I know that's a completely different approach and I can't speak to that. But in my realm and in my field, so when you cook, you start finding the products you love. You continuously buy them. You're continuously promoting them. And a little light bulb went off and I was like, I should make a few dollars off of literally marketing this stuff for these people for free. So products that I love, brands that I love, I started reaching out to. So I would just send a cold hard email. Actually, most of them, if they had, I would reach out on Instagram first, just because I feel like sometimes that's a little bit more laid back. It's like, you've seen me share your product 65 times. I would love to talk about partnering with you. So the biggest thing is, the first one is I reached out to them. Now, a few have reached out to me, and that's when you kind of give yourself a little pat on the back and you're proud of yourself. But most of the time, because I'm still, like I said, in the infant phases, I have reached out and just said, I love your product. As you may have seen, I use it. I love to share. I get questions about why I use your product, what's different about your product, or your ingredient, and what sets it apart. Because one thing that I speak to with my business until I am blue in the face is I am very particular about the quality of ingredients that I use. And I will, as long as this business exists, I will personally take a profit hit in order to serve my clients with the best, most nourishing options that I have access to. So I am very particular about certain products I use. Reached out to them, just asked, would love to partner with you, whether that be a one-time thing or whether that be a long-standing relationship, which most of the time I want that long-standing relationship. I see how they've responded. Some people say they don't have a program. Like, for example, like Fresh Market, I've reached out to. And, they said that they don't have like an affiliate marketing program, but to check back, and they might. A lot of places, I will tell you, I don't have a big enough following for them to pay attention to. Funny story. Unfortunately, that is a thing. My husband has a very large following, and products I have promoted have actually reached out to him. And I'm like, you do know we're in the same household, right? But cold hard reach out. It doesn't matter if you have 1 follower or 1 million followers. If people find that you're passionate about their product, they'll probably be open to a conversation. Because I am definitely of the smaller following of a number of the ingredients that I use, but these people are willing because they see that I'm passionate about what I do and that I do share a lot about them. So yes, it was cold hard reach out unless they reached out to me. Sometimes it is like a one-time thing, like let's run a giveaway or something like that. But I do request as often as possible a discount code. I can profit a little bit off of it. I gotta pay the bills. But at the same time, it shows them, how well I'm promoting and sharing their product. And I just think that in this industry, and I will tell you, to anybody like listening, whatever industry you're in, if it's something that you use, you're passionate about, and you like, why not try and partner? This is the way of the world now. I mean, affiliate marketing is huge, and I don't think it's going anywhere. So it's like, if you're already sharing something, why not get paid a few dollars to do so? That's my opinion. So, I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter what kind of following you have, give it a shot. But yes, like you said, with the emails, it just gives validation, not only to the products that I use, but also the brands. When I share with my clients, like the suggestions there, because I want you to benefit from the things that I have found to work best, or that work best in the foods that I cook. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. I know every industry approaches it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think one thing that you do very well, and I want to stress, there's so many marketers out there who are just promoting whatever for whatever reason, but you and I've seen other influencers do this or other people on social media do this. They only really promote the things that they truly use. And I know some people will go, well, it's hard to tell, but it's very easy to see with what you're promoting and the products they use, they are in line with all of your missions and mission and value and values. And I that really does, I think that strengthens the affiliate marketing, like you said, the desire for companies to work with you. Because over time, following is great, but I do think there's, I think I saw somewhere like the next generation is even harder to sell on stuff than generations, before us. Like, we're hard to sell. But when you build that trust, like you said, and going back to relationships and having a close contact with your customers, there's something there, but you really have to do the work to understand your customers and understand what they like and get, I don't want to say win their trust, but like they'll see that when you establish that strong relationship. So we're coming to we're already almost at the hour, but I want to finish with a couple questions. So
sure.
What has been the biggest lesson you've learned throughout the process of developing the digital product? And basically through that, what advice would you give listeners today?
One of the biggest things I have learned, and this might come across as strange that you probably think this is not what I would say, is do it yourself. So like, and I mean that in like, I learned how to operate the systems I'm using. So when something goes wrong, I know how to fix it. I'm not relying on like a back of house, because people want convenience. They want response, like your response rate has to be there. So I learned how to run these programs and like the operating piece of it behind the scenes so that I can serve my client the best. Like I can serve my client as best I can. I know that sounds strange, but literally do it yourself. Don't hire someone else, because you need to know your product in and out. And I think that the more you know it in and out, the better you can sell something, because that goes to show you put the work in and you didn't like pull something together and just pass it to someone else. So that, and it, honestly, from a personal, I take 100 times more pride in what I have put together because I put the work in. So I think that that's something, the hard work and the effort that I've put in, I think that's something that I've taken the most out of, is knowing that I did it myself. And I think it makes it that much more important to me.
Yeah, I imagine that's rewarding too. It's like finishing a project. For me, it's like getting through an event. Like,
yes, exactly.
All that hard work that we went into it, it feels good. Caitlin, can you share where, if people want to learn more about Fit to Entertain and Fit to Eat, where should they look online?
Well, my website, which is ever under construction, but it's just www.fittoentertain.com, all spelled out. And then on Instagram, which is at fit.to.entertain. I am trying to up my Facebook game, but Instagram and my website are probably the two best places to reach me. And then to subscribe to my newsletter, you'll be the first to get all updates, recipes, new offerings that I have. And I try and serve my people with information each week, and something that serves you, that is not asking for something in return as well. So